How you doing, Eric?
Hey, Troy. Doing well. How are you?
Good, good. Playing around with setting things up. Got a couple minutes left, but thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Try to have a little bit of fun with this and hopefully educate some folks along the way.
Right, indeed. So the stream is live, should be going out to different platforms. Lagged a little bit, but that's all right. And so one of the things I'll do is I'll keep an eye on the chat and see if we get some people replying. That's always, I think, the fun with some of this.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, more we can make it conversational.
Right, indeed. I need to figure out audio. I've got Google playing in the background. I don't think much is coming through the mic, but can you hear any of that?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Just heard it a second ago.
One of the things I didn't think of when I built this is I can't put my little mini cam up. I need to relay that out so I could do that. Oh well, a little bit at a time. Spend some time with some branding for this thing. Got some overlays for it, but as I started this is the second Workflow Wednesday, and I already have like a backup of people that are like, yeah, I want to join you. Let's find a time. So
That's great.
about it.
Well, I think it's fun. It's different. You're able to reach a wider audience. And they're topics that are relevant. To the folks we're trying to reach.
Absolutely.
That's great.
We're both here. Let me. That should fade off. That's bad.
There you are.
There I am. So one of the things that I need to do is let me take this off of pin. Let me figure out how to do that. There we go. It's down there. I thought. Yeah, I don't see a way to unpin myself. There we go. Remove pin. There. So when either one of us talk, it should switch.
Right.
So again, welcome to Workflow Wednesday. It's November 3rd. I can't believe we're already in November. As my buddy here, Eric, knows, we just moved between our two places. So we went from Arizona, where I'm in shorts, loving the warmth, to now I'm at 9,000 feet elevation just outside of Denver, and it snowed multiple times when we're here. So fall is definitely upon us. But With that, welcome to Now with Troy Live. This is the second version. And I want to introduce Eric Marquis. Eric works with me at Third Era, as you can see by his background. But Eric, if you give a little intro, that would be great.
Sure. Thanks, Troy. And thanks for having me today on Now with Troy. It's definitely exciting to be here, and hopefully the folks that join this find it educational. So my name is Eric Marquis, and I work for Third Era. I run sales in New England and been on board here for about 8.5 months, looking to build out their presence in the East here and really work with our clients to help educate them on who Third Era is, the value that we bring, how we differentiate, for some of the other partners that are out there in the ecosystem today, and specifically how we can help you achieve your outcomes. So definitely excited to be here today. This is my first Now with Troy. I've watched him myself, but definitely excited to jump in.
I pulled you in. Welcome to the madness. One of the things that I think has been fun with Third Era is really, while we're fairly young, right? We were formed in February.
Yeah.
We also have quite a heritage. We were formed from 5 different companies, and that number likely will grow. But we've also had a tremendous amount of organic growth. And so anyone that's been around the ServiceNow ecosystem knows that change is not just constant. Change is accelerating, and that's affecting us kind of in Third Era. It's affecting people that are in ServiceNow kind of as a company, but also it's affecting all of our customers, that there's so much change. For me, and this is kind of a lead up to a question I'll ask you, Eric, is, I first encountered ServiceNow in the pre-Aspen release days, and that used to be unique. But at Third Era, there's a ton of us that have been around the platform forever. But there's really 2 things that drew me to it is I've done a lot of process work and innovation work and just helping organizations and people perform better. And what I found in ServiceNow is a platform that could do a workflow, thus Workflow Wednesdays. How do we help work better? Mm-hmm. And that it intrigued me. And the other part was, it was a platform that helped me kind of break down silo walls, where I could talk to people in different parts of the organization and find ways where work isn't just tossed over a wall and passed to another group, and you just hope that it's going to be addressed. And it's been really cool to see how that has continued, and the market is definitely interested. So I said, I'm going to be around ServiceNow as long as those 2 things are true. I can help organizations perform better, and the market cares about it, that people care about it. And I'm still here after lots of years. And so what introduced you to ServiceNow, Eric, and what kind of captured your interest in it?
Really where they're going with the platform. I think it's first and foremost, really what interested me. I became associated with ServiceNow about 7 years ago now. Can't believe it's already been 7 years. Wow. I worked for a large managed service provider overseeing their IT support operations. And we had many clients that we supported on their ServiceNow platforms that we delivered services to. So like 24/7 support, a network operations center. So I got to intimately see firsthand, our customers using this every single day and us delivering services on it. And what I thought was really special about the platform, it was, especially at the time, there was nothing else like it, right? ITIL was out there, and it was known in terms of, being a more of a kind of a guideline and a standard for IT service management. But that was really just kind of the infancy of that. But adding, structure and workflow and process, onto one platform and a single data model that's, out in a cloud and a SaaS-based structure, was innovative, and ServiceNow was pioneering that. And I thought that was really, to me, that was, exciting. It was exciting to kind of see what direction they were going in. And since then, they've really evolved, to really be not only just kind of where they started in IT, but spanning and scaling across the enterprise more broadly, saying, look, you can just use this beyond IT, but it all interrelates, right? So to me, that's the exciting part in terms of not where it's been and where it originated, but where it's going.
Right. Absolutely. And when you think about how broad it is, I know you're in the same boat as me. We both carry a number of certifications on the platform, and I love the fact that every 6 months there's a tremendous amount of innovation across the platform. But it also means that we're digging through what ServiceNow calls Delta certs, the changes since the last release. And we have to go back through that and really review all the changes, and so we can keep those certifications. And it's something that Third Arrow really emphasized, which I'm thankful for, that we are encouraged to and get to stay current on the platform. But it's kind of mind-blowing, just the amount of innovation that happens.
I think you're right. 2 releases a year. They're really developing it out at an aggressive pace, but they want to layer in as much features, functionality, and value back to their clients, right? And that's the pace of innovation. And ServiceNow is really kind of trailblazing that.
Indeed. You mentioned the one database. I'll let you kind of kick off the transition. We just had a webinar at Third Arrow on the Common Services Data Model version 4. And it's been really cool. We have 6 certified master architects that work for us. They work very closely with ServiceNow on it. And that webinar, what kind of response were you seeing?
We saw a good response. What I was seeing a lot of, Troy, was a lot of education going on with a lot of our clients. Excuse me, I'm just playing around with my window here so I can see you properly. Really, we saw it as an opportunity to educate our clients. Not a lot of folks really understood what CSDM is, and really the importance of that, and how that's connected to the CMDB, and how it really provides that prescriptive, guideline to kind of model services within the configuration management database, and it gives you configuration strategies that enable you to be able to structure your data properly.
Absolutely.
So we saw it as a real education opportunity for a lot of these folks. A lot of folks didn't know what that was.
IT has more acronyms than anything, right? Every niche, everything you could possibly dive into has acronyms. And I think today, as we talk about those 2 acronyms, we've already kind of used them without explanation, because it's so ingrained. It's like, oh yeah, CMDB, oh yeah, CMDB, CSDM. But I think it's important to step back and say, what the heck is this ABC CDF, right? There's some funny videos out there from a past peer. But I think that webinar really opened up some of that the CSDM is Common Services Data Model. And to your point, what's the impact of that? It's really understanding what things are we tracking and what is the impact to the organization, right?
That's right.
What is, the CMDB? Have you had clients say, what the heck is that?
I think everybody's familiar with the CMDB, especially folks that have been on ServiceNow for a while. Whether or not they're using it properly or have it structured properly in their organization is a different story. I think you're finding much like me, stepping into many of these clients that we have today. They're at very varying stages of maturity, in terms of, on the platform. A lot of them originated within IT, are looking to expand beyond that or have expanded, but they don't necessarily have a healthy CMDB. And I think understanding that, a common service data model, as well as understanding how that underpins and really enables you to structure data in the CMDB is important. Right. So stepping into many of these clients, we see that they're in varying stages of, they've ingested some of their data and their assets from multiple different data sources. They have it in there. There might be logging tickets against it, but it's not clean and it's not structured properly. And a lot of times, they have issues with upgrades and workflow and process on the platform because there wasn't a larger strategy stepping into it.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that I've seen is, as like you said, we had the CSDM webinar. As people went through that, it kind of blew the mind away. Oh wow, there's this digital product layer. There are these services. I can see how they can interact. And so, from a business standpoint, there was a lot of interest in, we need to use this. We can finally see impact. We can have ownership and authority that ripples up. This is going to be great. This is what we've needed. And that's kind of turned to looking at the configuration management database, where we keep those configuration items, things we care about and want to track, and said, all right, we have one of those, right? and to your point, I think the reaction is kind of like the chuckle that we both had is you look at it like, oh shoot, we do have one, but the data isn't clean. We don't know who owns it. We don't have relationships, right? There's a whole assortment of things.
Well, I think there's a correlation to really realizing more value in the platform. It's correlation to CMDB and then realizing that value in the platform. And I think a lot of customers aren't realizing it because as CMDB isn't structured the right way or isn't clean, then maybe there wasn't a larger strategy in terms of how it was going to be maintained. But to your point, how a lot of customers, I think right now are struggling to say, all right, where is my ROI, right? How are we going to mitigate, outages and service disruptions in the organization? If there are interruptions, if we are having issues with infrastructure, how do we map that back really quickly to the services, and how can we maybe automate that so that we can mitigate the downtime? And that's what I'm hearing a lot of as well. And it really comes back to a common theme with CSDM and CMDB.
It does. It does. And I think the steps forward, of course, as Third Era, this is not a soapbox for us to sell, but frankly, we've got some pretty amazing practices and some things to help clients. But the steps to kind of go forward, at least as I'd recommend it, and I want your thoughts on it. This is not pre-rehearsed, right? There's two things that Third Era has brought to the market, is brought to our clients and our prospects that they could do. Is one, sit down with one of our certified master architects to have a CMA, certified master architect briefing. Basically sit down for a chunk of time to talk through how could the CSDM fit in your industry and in your specific business. That's where you take kind of that, oh, this could be neat, and it starts to get real. And I think at the second, and could be done in parallel, right, is have our ITOM practice come in and really do a CMDB health assessment, and look at where they're at. There's some things in ServiceNow that just kind of scratch the surface. CMDB health is great, but there's so many other things that we could look at, and our team does some things that can really look at how much data cleanliness do we need to focus on, where are there gaps, and what are the steps forward. And so to me, it seems like that kind of two-pronged approach, whether they're parallel or serial, is very important next steps.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Yeah, I mean, and I think, we try to encourage our clients, and we tend to step into relationships with just that approach, right? Also, what we found, and I know that you've worked with several clients, we provide assessment and roadmaps as well. So we can step in with our clients to really kind of, to your point, assess, the health of their CMDB, the underlying code, how it's being used, where they are today, map that against best practices, where they want to be from an organizational standpoint. And then, we can give them something that's more prescriptive in terms of how they can achieve those goals. And that starts off with the foundational data. And many people overlook that because they're looking at the big prize down the road. It's like, all right, let's just bring it back a little bit. But to your point, I think it starts off with, kind of that assessment through many of the experts that we have, on our staff today. And the team's done a great job. I mean, we're very deep in ITX, and I think, as a result, I think this is an area where, as we hear more and more about people not realizing value on the platform, we can help to bring that value to our clients.
Right. Talking with someone just recently that, I applauded her. She was looking at CMDB and a number of things that they wanted to improve, and there's other tables, right? ServiceNow is a tremendous database and has lots of different information on it. And one of the things that she found is that they use the location table to really understand where these configuration items are. And that location data kind of wandered and got very dirty. And after some hard times looking at the data, they decided to delete that entire set of data in the location table, and they'll go back and say, all right, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this right with some bounds. Here's some rules on how we use the location table. And what they found is now their CMDB is getting better, but more importantly, as they pick things that are either down or need work on it, they know where things are located in a very consistent manner, so their staff can go and find it. And it's not always just in the CMDB, right?
That's right.
Many other tables.
I would agree with that. And, just maybe to add on is, not only just where to find it, but I mean, what teams they need to, engage, right? Through automated workflow, right? To help resolve some of these problems or these issues. And that's the power of the platform, right?
Right.
Is by having the CMDB populated properly and having the information, and, and then the right data attributes, and that mapped back to the right teams that need to be, excuse me, that need to be able to support it. You can really expedite, your response, and in many cases, be able to kind of, mitigate issues before they happen.
Right. And it really unlocks being able to run IT more as a business. There's two other partners that come to mind, but one in particular is Aligned Financials. And what they found is, as a common service data model gets put in place, that's rippling up that structure. And if the CMDB is truly financially enabled, like enabled in a way that your finance department would say they understand it, that is not speaking in technology terms, but financial terms, the common service data model ends up elevating that. So you're seeing it at a much higher level. You're seeing it at that service level or digital product level, to be able to make financial decisions on it. That could be optimizing spending, that could be in the budgeting process, but also leads over into ITBM, right? There's so many other ways the platform can be utilized.
Absolutely. And I think, like you said, that also has inlays to IT asset management as well, both from a hardware and a software standpoint. But you're right, it's kind of getting that financial picture. Quite frankly, I think that's been missing, and usually is distributed across multiple different systems, and you're trying to cobble that together, try to understand what you have, what your annual spend is, right? And as a result, I mean, it becomes somewhat disjointed, right? And you never really get a true measure, of where really, where those assets are, I think, in their life cycle.
Yeah. Inside the CMDB, one of the things that is exploding the data count is the Internet of Things. And that's continuing, and love your thoughts on that. Front of mind for me is really how IoT affects, the term is the attack surface, right? The cyber world is real, and as we plug more and more things into our networks, the number of things that can be attacked escalates. And so, IoT and in industrial settings, looking at operational technology capabilities in ServiceNow, it's great to see the capabilities showing up on the platform, but also from a security standpoint in medical IT, IoT, all of those things end up in our CMDB to give us better visibility of that attack front.
I agree. I think it's IoT, as innovative as it is, it's also created challenges, right? And security being one of those, as you just mentioned. And I think it underscores the importance of having that CMDB, and being able to track those assets, understanding where they are, how they're being managed, making sure that you have the right levels of security applied to them. Truth be told, it's, I can envision someday having more of a dynamic CMDB, really where you're creating that underlying structure, leveraging CSDM for the assets that are going to be put into the CMDB, and then dynamically having, kind of a dynamic gatekeeper, if you will, where, something that joins your network, meets the requirements, it automatically enables it in and then puts a wrapper of security and structure around it. That's kind of how I envision where it's going, because there's going to need to be some level of automation and dynamic, more dynamics. Yeah, dynamics. Yeah. So.
Right. It's changing. The amount of devices on our networks just continues to scale, continues to grow. Transition a little bit to looking ahead is, one of our next webinars. In fact, I think it is the next webinar on the calendar is for November 11th, where we're going to talk about that intersection of vulnerabilities and risk. I'm excited about that one, because again, it's what is that attack surface?
Yeah.
And what are the, not only technology risks, but what are the other risks that are associated with it?
Yeah, I'm excited for that as well. And we'll be partnering up with ImagineX as part of that. So I'm really excited to have some industry thought leadership that we're able to bring on that call to really kind of help educate, to your point, in terms of the risks and the vulnerabilities that exist out there, right? And then kind of be able to provide, an approach in terms of how we can look to address those.
Sounds good. I'll put links for our webinar in the comments on the different streams where you can find this. Like I said, that'll be on the 11th. The exciting thing too is next Wednesday. So next Workflow Wednesday, I get to jump on with Sean Bank, the CEO from ImagineX, right before our webinar with them. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Excellent.
One of the things that I also want to leave out or toss out there is, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way, Eric?
Best way to get in touch with me, I'd say, is on LinkedIn. Look up Third Era, look up Eric Marquis on LinkedIn. I can also provide you, so emarquis at thirdera.com. Those probably two best channels.
Excellent. And we'll put that in the comments on the different channels, but I appreciate you having the guts to join me on a Workflow Wednesday now with Troy Live. I enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun working with you. And I hope the viewers got some things about acronyms of Common Service Data Model, Configuration Management Database, and what those are, and some steps in how we might be able to help you. There's a number of things you can do on the platform. You have lots of choices on a partner. Both Eric and I are happy to be part of Third Era, and we believe that we do stand out as unique. So do reach out. Any parting thoughts, Eric, for our audience?
No, I just want to thank everybody that took the opportunity to join us and may view this at a later date. Really appreciate all your time.
Right. Again, thank you. Thanks everyone for watching. The streams will be available recorded, and join me on the next Workflow Wednesday. Thanks. Bye.